And pausing the guest on right as we get to the fun part. But hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Darmin Cast, bringing you some Dota 2 live on twitch.tv/DarminCast. And of course, a lot of these videos will be made available on my Twitch highlight reel as well as the YouTube channel that I have set up. So look forward to you guys watching, reviewing, commenting, trolling, and insulting me as always. And hopefully Reborn doesn't crash here and we get into some Dota. I will be having a co-caster with me today. He's coming from one of the entry-level brackets. He is Dr. Dread, coming to us from Kick-Ass Patrol's squad. And let's see if he is on. Dread, can you hear me? Alright, not hearing Dread yet, so I'm going to just go ahead and continue with the draft as is, and hopefully he'll be able to join us here once the draft is finished up. We're going to have No Fear Dota going up against Third Tier Gaming in this, I believe it's the week 6. Let me check real quick for you guys. It will be the week 4. This is actually the week 4 matchup in the Season 9 AD2L tournament. And this is the North American Champion bracket.
10 seconds remaining.
Turn down the speakers just in case you guys are getting a bit of feedback there.
Dire team ban.
But we had the bans coming out from No Fear Dota in the form of Winter Wyvern and Darkseer. Both heroes still popular, been popular for a while. And they represent one of those
Radiant team
real concrete and solid AoE teamfight synergy pickups where you're looking to team fight in a 5-on-5 bracket. On the other side of the fence, you have Third Tier Gaming banning out the Platinum heroes right now in the form of Doom and Alchemist. Both of those heroes renowned for their ability to carry super late into the game and farm gold like nobody's business. With Alchemist having his Goblin's Greed, which gives him the bonus gold, and Doom, of course, usually going Midas as well as picking up Devour. So he can eat creeps left and right, which helps him scale up pretty quick, farm up pretty quick, and of course the changes made to Doom make his, I'm forgetting the name of it now, but the fire surrounding him an incredible HP regen mechanic where early on in the game, at about level 6, level 7, he can essentially regenerate any damage output from any other hero in the game. So right now it's a little bit broken and it's a popular ban, and if it doesn't get banned in the first round, you usually see it picked up, at least in the pro circuit. But the first picks coming out from No Fear Dota, you have Tusker, or Tusk, and Earthshaker as the first pickup by Third Tier Gaming as they look to pick up a support first, possibly a support actually. Earthshaker has been seeing more and more play as a core in kind of the off-lane role, but it's difficult to pull that off and have a full team lineup that accommodates such a tactic. So he'll most likely be a support, and Queen of Pain being picked up as well, who will likely play the mid for Third Tier Gaming. Queen of Pain, one of those heroes that's very mobile, gets around the map very quickly, and outputs a lot of damage very quickly. So as soon as she hits 6, she'll pick up her Sonic Wave, and from there look to snowball pretty quickly and continuously harass both the whoever No Fear Dota decides to put in the mid lane against her, and of course with her blink mechanic she'll have the ability to roam around the map and create pressure wherever she's needed. No Fear Dota eating into their reserve time here a little bit for their second pickup, and they pick a Clockwork, so you'll likely see him in the off lane, and Tusker is as a roaming support, most likely. Because Clockwork is one of those heroes you do kind of want to leave in a lane solo, in a solo off lane, so that he can get that experience that's needed to pick up hook shot, which is going to provide
Reserve time.
No Fear Dota with even more initiation. They have Tusker Snowball, but now with Clockwork's hook shot and cogs, they'll be able to initiate from quite a ways away. But with Queen of Pain's blink, the cogs aren't that deadly to her. Same with the Snowball. If she sees it coming, she'll be able to blink to safety. And Earthshaker's pretty inviting of the Snowball. You get too many heroes rolling forward to the Earthshaker, he'll hit him with an Echo Slam and some of his enchant totems, fissure, and everything else. And if No Fear Dota's not careful with their positioning, they might be caught behind a fissure wall or something like that. So they need to be careful here with how they look to initiate. But they do have the tools to do so now, at least.
5 seconds remaining.
Continuing with their banned into the second round of banning out the Lich with third tier gaming, responding with a ban out on the Ember Spirit. That's probably coming at the call of the Queen of Pain player, who's just calling out specific heroes that she doesn't want to
10 seconds
lane against.
Remaining. 5 seconds remaining.
And then continuing with the strategy of isolated pickoffs and not too fond of letting third tier gaming pick up heroes that synergize really well in an AoE teamfight type lineup, they ban out the Gyrocopter, so there won't be any call down. And Gyrocopter is another hero that complements pretty well with Queen of Pain, since his call down mechanic lets him rotate around the map relatively quickly as soon as he picks up a scroll in level 6 and start pushing teamfight encounters right at the level 6, level 7 mark. And between call down and Sonic Wave from Queen of Pain, it's a lot of damage output in a very large area very quickly. But that's not going to stop third tier gaming from picking up a little bit of those teamfight mechanics. They pick up Undying, whose Tombstone has been essentially nerfed in the early game, but it is a bit trickier in the late game. And the heroes that are in play right now from No Fear Dota, Tusker, Clockwork, Disruptor, all have a relatively slow attack speed, so it is going to provide that Tombstone with a little bit more longevity than normal, depending on how they play it.
10 seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining.
No Fear Dota, specifically 906,
Reserve time.
is hopeful that their team logo makes it into the in-game cosmetics this time, because apparently Reborn has had some issues with translating that over. But the Shadow Fiend pick up from third tier gaming, and so now you're going to have 2 possible mids coming out from third tier gaming, the Queen of Pain and Shadow Fiend. We will likely see the Shadow Fiend mid with the Queen of Pain presumably in the off lane, maybe with the Undying, unless they look to safe lane Queen of Pain. But I think it'll take
Radiant team ban.
Yeah, I'm not sure how they're going to lane this. Probably Queen of Pain off lane, Shadow Fiend mid, and they'll likely pick up a hard carry here at the end. I suspect we'll see Bloodseeker head into the middle lane, and you're going to see competition over every last hit between the Shadow Fiend and Bloodseeker, as Shadow Fiend looks to build up his Necromancy? Necromastery. And Bloodseeker, of course, looking to regenerate his lost HP through his Blood Right. Or no, his Blood Rage. Everything's blood with Bloodseeker. Yeah, Blood Rage, Blood Right. I guess Thirst and Rupture's not. Blood Rupture. But Shadow Fiend looking to build up the damage, Bloodseeker looking to build up the regeneration. So it'll be a last hit free for all in the middle lane. Third Tier Gaming banning out the Templar Assassin, though, typically played as a mid-hero, and right now I suspect both teams are going to be going into this final pick phase looking for
Dire team pick.
a hard carry pickup. But No Fear Dota are thinking otherwise, and they ban out the Venomancer, presumably thinking that the Queen of Pain is going to go safe lane and Undying's going to be the offlaner here. And the Venomancer Undying combination is a bit of a headache to work against, because once you get about level 3 Tombstone and level 3 Venom Wards, it's incredibly painful to run into that much damage. It's not much at first, just 5, 10, 20 HP getting ticked off of you one at a time by each of the zombies and snake hordes, but as the fight goes on, 30, 40, 50 seconds, it starts to add up very quickly, and the poison stacks and all of those little summons just nickel and diming heroes to death, especially with 3 out of the 4 heroes on No Fear Dota being melee, so they will have to physically run into that, or at the very least hook shot snowball in, but even then you're going to be caught behind enemy lines with all that stuff hitting you. Third Tier Gaming taking their time here with this last pick, giving it some serious thought as they eat into the last bits of their reserve time. No Fear Dota aren't going to have quite as much time to work with, but sitting with just 19 seconds in their bank, and both teams taking as much time as they need, as much time as they want here to make sure they have the optimal lineup going into this first matchup between the two teams. Tonight's match is going to be a best of 2, so each win counts. Each win is worth a point, and it's what is used to determine the playoff brackets later in the season. So a game is a game, a win is a win here. Third Tier Gaming picking up the Juggernaut, and so barring anything too crazy, I suspect we'll see him in the safe lane with Queen of Pain in the off lane, utilizing that blink mechanic to escape some danger. And No Fear Dota picking up their hard carry in the form of Medusa. And this is a smart pickup, I think, because it allows them to go into the very late game here, where Third Tier Gaming, they're going to have a Juggernaut and a Shadow Fiend who can do some serious damage through the mid game. But if it goes too far, you're going to have Tusker and Clockwork, who can both get relatively tanky and meaty, especially depending on Clockwork's build and how much armor and HP he decides to stack. And then, of course, Medusa is endgame for days. So now that we are into the game, I'm going to reach out to Dr. Dread again, see if he's available. Dr. Dread, can you hear me? Looks like he's reconnecting here, so we might get some feedback from him. We'll see in just a moment, but while we wait for him, I'm going to go through introductions. Starting with the offlane, we have Portent playing the Clockwork.
Seconds to battle.
In the mid lane here, we have Mr. Cash playing the Bloodseeker, and backing him up in the safe lane here, so you have 1991, Vindictive, and 906. Across the lake, you have all 5 of the third tier gaming heroes looking to secure this room. We might have a clash here.
The battle begins.
Points being allocated by Disruptor, but it looks like they're going to just back off this one, let it go. Clockwork captures the rune up top, and Shadow Fiend captures the bottom rune. So for third tier gaming, we have Fish playing the Shadow Fiend. We have Silver playing the Juggernaut. Supporting him will be Hotline Bling playing the Earthshaker. Eternal Chenvi playing Undying, and TG Mark playing the Queen of Pain in the offlane, taking a little bit of harass damage here from 906. And the battle for CS in the mid lane starts. There it is. That's something we'll want to keep an eye on.
Denied.
Right now in the offline, oh, almost missed the first blood here as Eternal Chenvi was taking quite a bit of damage from the safe lane trio of Vindictive 1991 and 96. Undying not having the same mobility as Queen of Pain, and so he'll have to scuttle himself back to base and regen and port back down. He has both sentries in his inventory, so it's unlikely that I need P2. So we gotta pause, of course. It's Dota, and no Dota game is complete without a pause. I will say that No Fear Dota do have their in-game cosmetic. So you can see it on their flags and see it on all their little emblems here. So that is up. We have... Apologize for some of the selection here, guys. I am, of course, bound by the inaccuracies of Dota Reborn, which is giving me only Dr. Dread's view for reasons unknown. Let's see if I can reconnect and if that helps it. Every time I've had a co-caster so far, I haven't been able to select the hero. And sure enough, it's sticking with Dr. Dread's hero selection here, so... Yep, you can see him clicking on Shadow Fiend there, so... He's going to be my hero selector, as I will not have control of that. I'm gonna see if I can get him. See if I can get him to yield control to me. Nope, and it just defaults to Disruptor. I'm sorry for the dead air here, guys. So we have a little bit of technical difficulties with Reborn as always, and we have 1991 who's dropped out of the game. Looks like we're waiting on her to reconnect, and she's back, so we'll likely get underway here shortly. So far, only a minute into the game, and we have No Fear Dota leading in the last hits, but that's as all the waves push into dire territory. So you're going to see Silver start to go up on the rankings here, as well as Fish. Have pings coming out in the bottom lane. As Undying has spotted Vindictive. And they have this warded, so he's not going to be able to stack that camp, as he'll find out now. So this creep wave will eventually push into third tier gaming's territory. Mark throwing out a little harass damage here against the Medusa and Eternal Envy, grabbing the rune. And he's still going to be level 1, I presume.
Yes.
Yep, he's still level 1, so at this point he needs to make sure he keeps himself in experience range and starts building up so he can be effective during these team fights. You have the mid lane here going back and forth, exchanging some damage, but Bloodseeker is able to keep himself relatively alive and healthy. Right behind me, you have an Earthshaker walking up. And at this point, the Earthshaker has been relegated mostly to stacking duty, as his lanes have been able to hold out on their own. We're 3 minutes into the game and there hasn't been a first blood yet. There's been quite a bit of damage tossed around, harassment here and there, but no hard commitment until now, as I miss it. Mr. Cash dives after the Shadow Fiend and does secure for himself first blood. Shadow Fiend hanging out just a little bit too long and a little bit too low on HP. Hotline Bling was off in the jungle stacking, as is his mission. But we do have a snowball in by Vindictive into the Queen of Pain. But it's not quite enough damage, but no, the snakes bounce off of the Undying onto the Queen of Pain and nearly dropping her. She had to be at 10-15 HP, but she pops a salve and a clarity, and she's going to be back to fighting shape here, and with a decent amount of mana. Meanwhile, in the top lane, you have Silver doing a bit of damage here against Portent Dodo.
Double attacks.
And he's sitting at about half HP now. So Silver's constantly eyeballing him, and if Portent gets a little bit too far up, you're going to see the dive here as Bloodseeker rotates to the top lane with double damage rune. He's just going to continuously right-click down the Juggernaut, and that's going to drop him. So Portent playing a little cat and mouse, making sure Juggernaut's constantly interested in pushing forward, and sitting at low HP, he's going to be able to bait him forward, and Mr. Cash will secure a kill for himself. But this is going to allow Fish time to recover in the middle lane and pick up his Necromastery stacks.
Dire's top tower is
9-6
under
pulling
attack.
in this bot lane, but that ward's still there, so you're not going to be too effective with that. Ping's coming out from third tier gaming, indicating to the Shadow Fiend that the stacks have been primed and ready and are sitting there ready for him, and he's going to head forward and take advantage of that. Meanwhile, the courier's coming in to provide him with some additional items.
No!
And I'm taking you guys on a tour here, a Dota tour, as I missed the second kill of the game. Or as I missed my second kill, but I will catch the follow-up kill here as Mr. Cash surges forward and picks off an Undying, pushing their lead to 3-1. Before that, you had the Queen of Pain picking off the Disruptor. But it's been the Bloodseeker who's been present in all three lanes and presenting a lot of harassment damage. You might have a clash here in the middle. Rupture is thrown onto TG Mark as he picks up the haste rune. Now Vindictive snowballs forward, throws down the ice shards, and that's going to be a dead Queen of Pain stuck between rock and an ice shard place as she picks up haste and eats a rupture for it. Now Mr. Cash rotating into the middle lane to help Portent kill off the Shadow Fiend. 9-6 trying to glimpse the hotline back into the fountain, but not going to be enough. And now you have Mr. Cash catching out Silver. That's going to be a one-on-one for the time being, but now you have backup coming from third tier gaming, and they're finally going to drop the Bloodseeker, worth just 393 gold, but it keeps him from getting too out of control and snowballing too hardly here in the game is he's already been able to secure for himself 3 kills and 2 assists, so he's been rocking 100% kill participation so far on his side of the map. Quinn Payne pulling the creep wave back behind the tier 1 tower here, picking off a little CS. And so far, with Fish able to rotate back into his jungle, he's been able to more than catch up to the Bloodseeker in terms of CS. And now they may be looking to go on Clockwork, but Fish is scouted out as he pulls the creep wave with him, eats a rocket. And between the rocket and the creep damage as he just walked through him, he's sitting at half health. He also had Cash pinging out the Shadow Fiend and ready to engage. They have pings coming up all over the place in this top lane here as Eternal Chenvi rotates up and gets in position in case there is a team clash. Payne picking up and bottling a rune here in the bot lane.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
And both teams eyeing out this double damage rune, but it's going to be Vindictive on the Tusk who picks it up.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
There's pings out in the middle lane as the ice shards come, and they're slightly off the mark for Fish, so he eats a little bit of harassment damage from the Disruptor's Thunderstrike, but with Hotline Bling hanging out behind him, he was relatively safe, and Eternal Chenfi waiting on the high ground as well, just in case. You have pings coming out on Vindictive as he's getting surrounded here by 3 Dire heroes. The Fish are slightly off the mark and actually forces both Silver and Eternal Chenvi to take the long way around now. Hotline Bling is a little bit too far forward, and he's going to be in a 1 versus 2 situation for a short time until his backup arrives, and now the chase is on. You have the second fissure coming out from Hotline Bling, and a snowball forward from Vindictive onto the creep wave. Maybe enough to get him to safety, and with the ice shards, it's certainly going to be enough. So Mr. Cash trying to continue the fight here as he throws out a Rupture, and Clockwork surges forward. So they are able to secure the Undying kill, and Silver has now used his ultimates and spin, so he's going to be without spells as Mr. Cash turns and gets a second kill. So Clockwork suicide diving into the Undying secures Mr. Cash 2 more kills as he drops the Juggernaut and the Undying. And Hotline Bling having suffered a bit of collateral damage in that fight, spends his last moments stacking in another neutral creep camp and then heading back to base to recuperate and lick his wounds. Glimpse being tossed out on Mark by the end by 9-6, and he denies the regeneration rune, so Queen of Pain won't have that. And now Tusker is surging forward, possibly thinking that he had a disruptor there to support him, but he's going to quickly realize that was a mistake. We have a smoke coming out from Third Tier Gaming as they look to jump onto 1999 here. And the nuke damage coming out, but Medusa popping her ult and teleporting to safety. But in the mid lane here, it's the counter kill as Portent Dodo and Vindictive make a move against the Shadow Fiend and drop him for the 3rd time this game. So he's been having a bit of a rough one. He's maintaining his CS overall, but they're constantly ganking this middle lane, making sure he never feels safe. And with the long-range initiation of Fissure, Hookshot, even Rupture, and the ability of Glimpse to kind of control the placement of heroes and the tempo of the fight, there's a huge danger range that No Fear Dota is able to work with. Yeah, so I know No Fear Dota is kind of listening into the game here and trying to
Dire's bottom tower is under
supposedly.
attack.
Oh, let's see. Maybe I did have mute co-casters. No Fear, you there? Oh, we have a dive onto the Bloodseeker in the top lane here, and they are able to secure it with Silver throwing out his Zombie Slash. But now Portent Dodo in 9-6 look to turn the tides here, but Silver spinning his way forward and through the damage of Disruptor's ultimate. And Clockwork going to eventually fall to the fissure here as third tier gaming pick off the Life Stealer and thank No Fear Dota for the gift of another kill as Clockwork hooks himself into the danger zone.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack. Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
So first tower of the game falling for third tier gaming as they are able to pick up a couple hero kills in the top lane. They do lose their tier 1 tower. Now 1991 on the run. She does have her ult.
She's
She's gonna need a little harassment from Queen of Pain, but even they're committing 4 heroes to this bot lane and they decide not to go on her, so I have Mr. Cash stacking up the creep camp for himself as well, but there's too many of them, and one of these Wild Wing Rippers is going to get caught up and prevent the stack from occurring. So he's just going to be content eating what's available there. Now you have Portent Dodo wrapping around with an Invis rune, but there's pings out from Eternal Chenvi. He knows he's there, and he drops a ward. So they are going to see him. Here's the fissure, trapping him inside of his cogs. He's going to look to teleport away, and he's able to do so. So good escape as he's able to get out of danger.
Radiant's top tower is under attack. Radiant structures are fortified. Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
What the hell's Dr. Dread on here? I'm going to
Fancy feeding you here.
that may be why, if he's not in my party. In the top lane here, you have Juggernaut taking down the Tusker, and with Queen of Pain rotating in, it's going to be a pretty heavy win for third tier gaming so far. Hotline Bling is going to murder himself with a Rupture, and Bloodseeker's going to call that a victory for himself and escape, but that's a 3-for-1 trade going in favor of third tier gaming as they go up another 1,000 gold from that exchange. And so he may not be able to talk, but we do have the side comments coming out from Dr. Dread here as he's able to provide the pop-ups, and he announces that it is mid-game versus a ganking lineup, and you kind of suspected that with the Bloodseeker, Tusker, Clockwork lineup. Double damage being picked up by Eternal Chenvi here, but Mr. Cash doesn't care. He's surging forward, and he's going to be able to just right-click down the Tusker, even though he was the one who had the double damage. Both teams playing the counter ward game here in the middle as Mark walks forward, and Vindictive's going to finish the ward. An incredibly timed snowball is going to keep Vindictive safe as he rolls his way away from the fissure into the mid lane and to the waiting arms of his allies. So that's the type of move that demonstrates that Vindictive has played Tusker once or twice here, and he's very familiar with the timings of the snowball animation, and not only how to initiate with it, but how to avoid damage and get out to safety. We'll see if he uses those timing skills to secure escapes not only for himself but for his allies. Disruptor harassing the opposing support player here, and you have the makings of a big team fight here as Third Tier Gaming are surrounding this mid lane. There's no Fury Dota push forward. They kind of know where they're at. They're pinging it out, but they still go in against Hotline, and Tusker's not quite able to finish him. Fish missing most of his shadow rises, but now it's the Juggernaut and Mark surging forward in between Omni Slash and Queen of Pain's many AoE abilities. They're going to drop Tusker and Disruptor. Queen of Pain also picking up the regen rune, and so she'll be ready to go here as Third Tier Gaming look to collapse and team fight as they take their first tower of the match, dropping the mid tower and heating things up. But in the off lane, you had Mr. Cash pushing this whole time, and he's going to take second tier 1 tower for his team as well as a bunch of CS and continue to secure items for himself. He's sitting on 2,300 gold here, and he's teleporting to the top to continuously keep lanes pushed out and keep his farm as high as he can. Meanwhile, you have Medusa sitting on about 1,500 gold of her own, and she has usurped Shadow Fiend as the most CS and sitting in second for net worth, with Bloodseeker reigning as the champion, predominantly due to his 7-2 record as he continuously applies pressure across the map. Fish getting dove on here by a Disruptor and a Tusker, and they are going to be able to drop him, but now the turn is coming as both Silver and Mark are in place once again, and Silver looking to spin his way around the cogs. He does so, and now Porton is trapped, so the Omni Slash is 17 seconds away. So with a little bit of rocket flare, oh, but Silver is going to spot out 9-6 lurking in the jungle with 3 right clicks. He picks up a mega kill for himself and drops the Disruptor 1991 meanwhile. Cutting through the middle, and they're going to catch Silver as he tries to retreat, but Omni Slash is now off cooldown, and he's able to use it to destroy Clockwork, but now 1991 is there with Stone Gaze and pops it. Is able to get Queen of Pain as a return kill, but Eternal Chimpy might make his way out. Hotline Bling providing some additional assistance with the Fissure, blocking out the Bloodseeker, and the Fissure just in perfect place to block out the continued pursuit from No Fear Dota. So they're just going to have to settle with taking their third and final tier 1 tower of the game, as both 1991 and Bloodseeker continuously push forward on the net worth chart. Vindictive diving deep, assuming he had the backup of Medusa, and I think one more right click from the Medusa would have been enough to drop TG Fish, but as it stood, Tusker heading in by his lonesome, throwing out everything he had, but as he turned and ran, he ate most of the shadow raises, and it was enough burst damage to drop him before he escaped. So had the Medusa been a little bit more aggressive there, I think they could have gotten at the very least a 1-for-1 trade, but without her support, it's going to be a 1-for-0, and that's coming from Medusa's hero comp. I mean, Medusa as a hero is typically a little bit more passive until she gets all of her items and can start to really leverage
New treasure.
her gold advantage. She has finished the MKB, so she'll have that on her, providing the additional damage. Have Dr. Dread in the flanks here, giving me a pop-up saying that No Fear Dota is looking a bit weak here, and he predicts that Third Tier Gaming is going to have it, but No Fear Dota have proven to be a very strong competitor, and Season 8, I believe, they were the reigning champions for the North America Champions League. I'd have to verify that, but I believe they won the whole thing. Oh, you're saying Third Tier Gaming isn't looking good and No Fear Dota are the ones who are going to win? Either way, both teams are sitting pretty even right now in terms of kills, with just 15 to 14. And as Third Tier Gaming looks to put pressure against this top tower, the tower advantage is going to... Yeah, he's saying Third Tier Gaming is going to lose. And it really depends. I mean, right now, it's definitely anybody's game. Checking the net worth. It's only a 5k gold advantage in favor of No Fear Dota, as they hit the 24-minute mark here, or as they approach the 24-minute mark. And what we'll have to see from Third Tier Gaming with this lineup is they can't take it to the 50-minute mark. I think once it hits that point, there's just too much meat in the No Fear Dota lineup between Clockwork, Tusker, and Medusa. I don't think Third Tier Gaming is going to have enough to carve through it. We have a wraparound here coming from Third Tier Gaming, but it's not going to be for much. Medusa hanging out with the invisibility room, but she's going to walk into a sentry ward and pops her Shadow Gaze and looks to fight here. She is able to drop one, and now she's trying to drop Eternal Envy, but the Tombstone is dropped, and they're going to turn their focus on that. So with that invisibility rune, they are able to secure for themselves yet another Shadow Fiend kill, which puts him at 1-5. He has been under constant pressure this entire game and hasn't had much space. He's not suffering too much in terms of the net worth chart. Just 600 gold behind the leading Dire player. But you got a blink forward from Earthshaker here as he goes on Vindictive, but now everyone's trapped inside of 9/6's spells, and he catches 3 out of position, and with no real damage being done to No Fear Dota. And I think a lot of that, you don't see it here on the fight recap, but that was 9/6 playing incredibly well, getting his kinetic field and his ultimate out, and the right position catching, I believe it was Queen of Pain, Juggernaut, and Earthshaker after Earthshaker had blinked in. And with those 3 heroes out of position, and with Fish having recently been picked off, it was a relatively one-sided fight. When you can't move and you can't cast spells, it makes it hard to play Dota. And that's the sort of tempo control that Disruptor brings to a fight. So Dr. Dread, based on your pop-ups here, I presume you can at least hear me. Hopefully. I'm not seeing any more pop-ups from him, so not quite sure. Yep. And he's saying that both of No Fear Dota's carries have a 4k net worth lead, and yep, you can see that. And Fish, even under the pressure he's been under, is 3rd in the overall net worth, sitting at 10,500. But it is the Medusa and ultimately Mr. Cash sitting on the Bloodseeker. Who are able to... who are sitting on top of the leaderboard here in terms of net worth. I apologize, guys. I am trying to show you heroes, but I'm stuck. I'm stuck looking at an Undying. Ping's coming out as Third Tier Gaming smoke up, and they're looking to make a go here on one of the illusions by the looks of it. But they identify it's an illusion and use their remaining smoke time to rotate the bottom lane here, but I don't think they're going to find much. Instead, they head into the Roshan pit. And right now, No Fear Dota do not know this is happening. They do know there's an invisibility rune in the bottom lane. And Important Dota's just stacking up creeps, and I don't think he's going to spot anything out here. So Roshan is taking a little bit of time here, as they do have just 2 heroes in the pit, but Slow and Steady will win the race here, as No Fear Dota are spread out across the map. You have heroes hanging out in the jungle, and the remainder of the heroes here in the middle lane. But 1991 has picked up a Eye of Scotty for herself and is now rotating down. You have Important Dodo picking up the invisibility rune, so if 1991 spots out the Earthshaker or Silver here, he does spot out Eternal Chendi and is pinging him out, saying, guys, let's take this. And now Fish is making a rotation in as well. 1991 popping his ultimate, and he will certainly finish off his primary target, and they make it a 2-0. Meanwhile, further down in the pits, you have fighting continuing as a Disruptor and Shadow Fiend have both fallen as well. Important Dodo utilizing his invisibility rune, eventually chasing down an Earthshaker, and it's going to be a 4-for-1 trade at the end of the day, with No Fear Dota taking another 900 gold off of Third Tier Gaming, and now they're looking to push uphill with the gold advantage that they have. Climbing from 5k just 5 minutes ago to 14k now. Silver looking to make a stand here and save his barracks, but without the assistance of his teammates, even that Aegis isn't going to be enough. And to add insult to injury, multiple No Fear Dotas escaping with between 36 and 150 health, and 1991 is now at the point in the game where she's just going to hang out. And Third Tier Gaming know that it's over at this point. They had a small window to make it, and it didn't even make it to the 50-minute mark. Medusa utilizing her time very effectively and consistently and constantly, farming up that CS and that gold, and making sure that as it went later and later, she was ready to carry it. She went the entire game without dying, and that's counter to what Fish had to deal with, being the target of a lot of pressure in the mid lane on Shadow Fiend. So Bloodseeker buying the space, dominating the mid game, and Medusa using that space to farm up like a wild lady until she was able to eventually stand and tank and spank the entirety of Third Tier Gaming. So that was game 1, going the way of No Fear Dota. My name is Darmin, coming to you on twitch.tv/DarminCast. I have Dr. Dread from Kick-Ass Patrol Gaming sitting in the flanks here with the occasional pop-up on the side of the screen, so shout out to him. And we will be back shortly here with Game 2 between Third Tier Gaming and No Fear Dota. Stay tuned.